What's up, y'all? It is Cabby, one half of the Chris and Cab team here in Houston, Texas. Now, I think the idea of building a custom home is appealing to a lot of people. So what does that actually entail? How do you go from finding an empty lot to building your dream home? In this video, we're gonna talk about the entire process of building a custom or semi-custom home. So if you're gonna go the custom route, there's a few things you're gonna want lined up in the very beginning. So number one, you're gonna want to have at least a general idea of what you want the final product to be in terms of total square footage, the number of beds, the number of baths, if you want to study, maybe some idea of the layout, so on and so forth. You need to figure out what exactly your family needs in order for your home to function the way you want it to. And then once you have this figured out, you should probably identify which builder you want to work with. One of the reasons is that they're gonna know the general cost to build your home based on the information you give them from step number one. And with this information, you'll have a better idea of what price you need to get the land at. See, one of the things you need to be conscious of is that you don't want to overbuild your home for the neighborhood. You don't want the cost of the land plus the cost of construction to be more than what you can sell your home for on the market. So getting the land at the right price is crucial. It's so important. Also, when you find a builder, you should find one that has access to the architectural side of things that can help with design and permitting. So some builders will have an in-house architect, while others will have a relationship with a third-party architect that you'd be working with. One thing to realize is that some builders are just builders. They're just construction guys, right? So you definitely want to work with a builder that has access or a relationship to that architectural piece. That way you can ensure that the home is going to be designed well and designed functionally, right? So next, the other thing you're gonna want lined up is your lender. Now, it shouldn't be too hard to find a lender that will do a construction loan. In fact, your builder probably has relationships with lenders that can issue those type of loans. But fewer lenders will do loans for just the land acquisition. So a lot of times people will have to acquire the land with cash and then they'll pull out a construction loan. Now, it is possible for you to get one loan for both the land acquisition and the construction. But in order to do that, you need to be able to present to the lender basically the floor plans and an itemized budget of what the project is going to cost. So again, you would have to have identified your builder ahead of time so they can prepare this budget that you would bring to the lender. Now, there are a few lenders that can do a loan just for the land acquisition, and actually one of my lender partners is able to do that, and we helped a client recently do just that. So basically this client, they got a loan for the land, and right now they're just making payments on that loan, and then they'll pull out a separate loan for the construction, and then they'll close again and wrap everything into a 30-year fixed mortgage. Now, there is a downside, right? Because as you can see, you'll have to close twice and therefore pay closing costs twice. However, if you don't have the cash or don't want to have a big cash expenditure to acquire the land, then this is an option that may be available to you. So you have your builder, you have your architect and floor plans, you have your lender lined up, and now let's say you've secured the land. So next comes the design process. So if you're going a true custom route, you'll work with an architect to draw plans from scratch. Now, a lot of builders have a semi-custom approach in which they have existing plans that you can pick and choose from. This semi-custom approach happens to be the approach that our sister company, Harvard Homes, uses. It makes a lot of sense for most of our clients, and it's just faster and easier. Now, once the plans get drawn up, they must be submitted to the city for the permitting process. Now, this is kind of another reason why the semi-custom approach is faster and easier and makes sense for a lot of people. Because the plans have been used before, you have a pretty good idea that once you submit them to the city that they're gonna get approved. Now, once plans have been approved and permits have been obtained, the actual construction process can begin. So if it's not already cleared, the land will get cleared, foundation will get poured, eventually the framing will get put up. So while the initial structural components are being constructed, then usually this is the time that you'll start working with your designer to start picking out the actual finishes to your home. Things like the paint colors, flooring type, countertops, your sink hardware, all those things. Now, you really should be working with an interior designer or some sort of designer that's done this before. I don't think people realize how overwhelming the process can be and just how many options there are. And there's just so many things that you don't know you have to pick. Like when it comes to tiling, there's different colors of grout. At the edge of the tile, there's different kinds of trim that you can use. There's like a million different shades of white and a million different shades of every color, to be honest. So it's totally overwhelming, and working with an experienced designer can just make things easier for you. They can pick things for you and narrow things down, and it just makes the process that much easier. I think another thing that a good designer will help you keep in mind is that while yes, this is a custom or semi-custom home, you're probably not going to live in this forever. So you don't want it to be too specialized, right? To the point where you'll have difficulty selling it down the road. So while this whole design process is going on with your designer, I mean, there's gonna be multiple iterations of brainstorming sessions, and then he or she giving you options, and then going back and forth, giving you renderings, so on and so forth. While that's happening, the construction is still going on. Right? Now, during each phase of construction, there will be city inspections. So for example, after the plumbing goes in, there's gonna be a plumbing inspection. After the electrical goes in, there'll be an electrical inspection. Now, the thing is, sometimes the next phase of construction cannot move forward until an inspection is cleared. So for example, once the electrical goes in, the electrical inspector comes out, and if he says something is no good, then it's gotta be fixed, and then the inspector's gotta come back out. So one of the things, or a common thing that causes delays in construction, is that once the inspector calls out something to be fixed, it may be several days until they're able to come back. And sometimes it may be several days before the trades can come back to fix it, and then several more days for the inspector to come back and check it. And if it's not fixed the first time, then they'll have to go through this again. Meanwhile, you can't move forward, right? So for example, in the example of electrical, you can't put the sheetrock up and the walls up to move forward with construction until all the electrical stuff is finalized and passes inspection. So these are the types of things that cause delays with new construction. But eventually, all the plumbing goes in, all the electrical goes in, sheetrock goes up, you and the designer finalize all of the finishes and selections. He or she gets things ordered, and eventually everything gets delivered to the house. Sometimes it could take months, sometimes things are on back order. Again, this is another reason why for delays, but eventually things get delivered to the house, everything gets installed, and then you're ready to close on the house. Now, before you close, and usually when you're about, probably I'd say 90 to 95% done, you'll probably do a orientation and what we call a blue tape walkthrough with the builder. So you usually meet at the house, meet with the builder. They'll kind of show you all the things in the house and like how to work certain things, like where your main gas shutoff is or where your main water shutoff is, so on and so forth. And then you also have an opportunity to walk throughout the property and kind of mark any cosmetic things that need to be touched up with blue tape. So that's why we call it blue tape. Now, so you usually do this, and then right before closing, you'll do one more final walkthrough to make sure that everything that was pointed out during that blue tape walkthrough was addressed. And assuming everything was done to your satisfaction, then you kind of sign off, yes, everything's done, and then you go to the title company and close on your new home. So that's the process of building a custom home, from finding a piece of dirt to finding your builder, getting your financing lined up, going through the construction process, and then eventually closing on the home. But if you feel like I missed anything, drop your questions down in the comments below. I'd be happy to answer them. Now, if you have any other questions about real estate, especially here in the Houston market, feel free to shoot us an email at hello@ChrisandCab, or drop a comment, or DM us at ChrisandCab on Instagram. We are most active on that platform. Again, we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to help. We'll see you in the next video.